are not too far from Iowa City, although the mailing address is Iowa City. We're in Johnson County, and we are at Wilson's Orchard, right at the very tail end, almost, of another apple season. This is Paul. Paul, thanks for having us.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah,
talking to people here at Wilson's Orchard, it's almost as if you folks measure time by calendar year and by apple season.
Yeah, that's right.
People will tell me that I've worked here this number of years and this many apple seasons, as if it's its own measure of time.
Yeah, well, we measure trees that way. That's the way we talk about apples, and that's the way we run our lives, really.
I read the other day an article about Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah.
Johnny Appleseed, I imagine you said you're a fourth generation.
Yeah.
So you know Johnny Appleseed.
Well, I didn't meet him myself.
Right.
My great-great-granddad probably had a beer with him.
Well, you mentioned that because Johnny Appleseed, we learned the story in kids. When we're kids, you learn the story of Johnny Appleseed that, he loved trees and he loved nature and he planted the apples. I read that the reason he planted all the apples was he wanted to make cider because Johnny Appleseed liked to tip them back.
Well, everybody did. The early pioneers drank more cider than water because it was safe. You know, it had to have some alcohol content to kill the bugs in the water.
Right.
Right? So even when I was a kid, or not when I was a kid, my dad was a kid going to school in first grade, people were bringing cider to school.
Alcoholic cider.
Alcoholic cider,
No
yeah.
kidding.
It was diluted down, but it was alcoholic cider, yeah.
What's the difference between the cider that we drink here in this beautiful facility and the cider we drink when we're kids, like the apple cider you get, or the cider you put cinnamon in this time of year? What's the difference between those different kinds of cider? Because it's all cider.
Yeah.
How is one safe for kids and the other delicious for adults?
Yeah. So first of all, the exceptionalism of the United States. We're the only one in the world that calls a sweet product cider.
Okay.
Okay. And that came about largely through Prohibition. But cider was always known in America, as elsewhere, as an alcoholic drink.
Right.
Until the Prohibitionists got a hold of it, and then cider became an unfermented product. Okay. So what we know as cider in the United States, and what we at Wilson's Orchard call sweet cider, is just apples ground up, squeezed. That's the juice. You drink it, tastes fresh and delicious.
Whereas if you're in Europe and you ask for a cider, that means something completely different.
It's going to put you on your butt. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So then to that cider, to that just fresh pressed juice, we would basically add yeast and brew it, ferment it, and then it becomes what in England and France and the rest of the world is known as cider.
So once again, our old friend yeast plays a hand in making something wonderful.
Different. Well, it doesn't have to be different yeast than, say, the beer world. But the blurb on cider is it's made like a wine, sold like a beer.
Wilson's Orchard and Farm is located just northeast of Iowa City. Tomorrow is the grand opening of their pumpkin patch. They'll have tons of apples, raspberries, sunflowers to pick, and live music all day long. New episodes of Brewed begin in December. You can also visit brewedtv.com to watch any episode anytime.